The odd reality that many in Silicon Valley are not willing to support the US government in military context is something that should be a source of great discussion.
Basically, what he's saying is they don't live in reality. And I agree with him. Would I take our government and our military over the Chinese Communist government and their military? Let me think about that one for all of about 0 seconds. Something we've talked also a lot about on the show is the US tech monopolies' reticence to work with the Department of Defense. And I asked Mike Hayes about this. We had him on the show, former Navy SEAL, served in our military for decades. He didn't want to take a position on it. I thought that was, a little disheartening that you aren't seeing more of the military community that has joined the tech industry speak out that tech monopolies' clear hesitation, reticence, unwillingness to work with the Department of Defense is a big problem. Clip here of Alex Karp. Alex Karp, we've covered him before on the show. He is the CEO of Palantir. Palantir works with, their biggest customer is the US government. But this guy, tells it how it is, has touched on this a little bit before, but now he touches on it a lot more than he has in the past.
The real problem on how America does in that context also comes down to the unwillingness, from my myopic perch, totally impossible to understand unwillingness of a number of tech companies and engineers to support the US government. Now, I don't think everything the US government does is right. I don't agree with a lot of things. I'm a citizen, and like many people, I'm sure everyone listening, we have our agreements and disagreements. But the odd reality that many in Silicon Valley are not willing to support the US government in military context is something that should be a source of great discussion. And I, for one, always want to hear, well, if that's the case, how do you justify the fact that you're building your company in the US and driving on our highways and getting protection from countries that are unhappy with the encroachment on their sovereignty simply because they don't want to offend the US government and our taxpayers? So that is a really big issue in America, that many of our software elites have a very different view on how you should support the country that has supported us than, say, we do at Palantir and I do personally.
Why do you think that is? Please call out some company names if you want to, but even if you don't, what is the motivation not to?
There's a long answer. I think the short answer is that some of them just don't have the sense God gave a goat. And they confuse having a high IQ with being sensible. But in any case, the longer answer would be something like, I think there's just a not an understanding of the historical reality of tech. We get away, in those of us who are entrepreneurs, for looking weird and living our own lives and not being particularly conformist, because people in America see that we're creating value for them. The Silicon Valley of the first generation was building things that Americans understood would help them. If you're sitting on your perch in Silicon Valley and you're only creating value for yourself, monetizing the natural resources of your fellow Americans and others in the form of monetizing their data and providing no value to them, except for disrupting the businesses that people work at, you're going to find that your level of trust, it goes really down really far quickly. And I don't think this is something you can kind of IQ your way out of, which is, I think, essentially one of the problems in Silicon Valley. They just think that they're so smart that they can smart their way out of this. But it's just so obvious.
I think the other thing, which he doesn't really touch on, is weak leadership. Thing I was touching on at the top of the show. This stuff starts at the top. Okay. The one of the main companies that he's talking about, he doesn't name here. The CNBC guy really begs him to name a company because he want to stir the controversy. But the main company he's alluding to is Google, not wanting to deploy its AI systems to get involved in like weapons targeting programs with the DoD. So let's say it could be like image recognition plus like 100 other data points or more And then you need a brain, right? That's going to say, okay, is this enemy? Is this friend? Target that enemy, attack that enemy, etc. Google didn't want to participate in that program and others. But at the same time, it came out that in parallel to that, Google was talking with the Chinese government and was actually running a kind of stealth like prototype program to launch, guess what? A search engine in China. Allegedly, they have scuttled the Chinese project, probably because that was leaked and didn't really make them look very good. But irrespective of doing the thing in China or not, why would you allow your employees, who come from all over the world, by the way? Google has hundreds of thousands of employees. They're not all American citizens. Rebel and say, no, Google, we don't want you to make money from the U.S. government. U.S. government wasn't, doing whatever that, what is that, like the Defense Act or whatever it is. All right. They weren't forcing Google to give them their technology. They were paying them. So we're going to turn down money and we're not going to help the U.S. government. Now, U.S. government's not perfect. What Alex Karp is saying, there's a lot of issues with our government, I frankly, barely trust our government. But still, despite all that, would I take our government and our military over the Chinese Communist government and their military? Let me think about that one for all of about 0 seconds. So that's what Karp is getting at. He kind of says, oh, they got a bunch of high IQs. They got a bunch of fancy explanations. They got a bunch of really smart people over there. They're talking about what's wrong and this and that and why we shouldn't work with the U.S. government. Basically, what he's saying is they don't live in reality. And I agree with him. And I think this stuff isn't that complicated. Everyone wants to make it more complicated than it is. He's like a mad scientist. At least he's a patriot and tells it how it is. Hi, I'm Alex. Thanks for watching the show. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. But even better, make sure to follow us on Odyssey, follow us on Rumble, and text us 203-646-5159. Text the word Monopoly. You'll be subscribed. You'll get updates about when we're going live, our latest videos, and we'll send you even a little goodie bag. And in the event that we all get banned from big tech, we'll still be connected.